Christian D. Larson could best be described as a Danish philosopher. And I share this quote with you today because it's something that I've truly come to believe. There is something inside of you that's greater than any obstacle that prevents itself. So rather than listen to my words of wisdom this morning, I thought I'd share a story with you about two people who inspire me, two people who overcame some odds and became successful. I'm sure you recognize this first one. It's Lucille Ball. At the age of 35, in 1949, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer called Lucy into the office of the main producer and released her from her contract. You see, at age 35, they said she was too old and that she'd never be a major star. She just didn't have it. Now, Lucy'd come up from a typical background, one very similar to yours and mine, and she had some challenges and obstacles in her life. She suffered with depression and anxiety off and on for her entire life. She had some relationship issues with her first husband, Desi Arnaz, who had alcohol, gambling, and, well, was a womanizer. Lucy's agent approached her and said that no other studio really wanted her. And by the way, sometime in there, Lucy had to testify before Congress and convince them she wasn't a communist. It had nothing to do with her red hair. Lucy's agent approached her and talked to her about this new medium called TV. And her first response is that TV is the graveyard of movie stars. But after a little prodding and poking, on October 1st, 1950, the television show we all know as I Love Lucy debuted. And in the last 65, almost 66 years, that show has been on TV every day somewhere in the world. Lucy's made us laugh. She's made us cry. She was a great slapstick comedian, but it goes beyond that. There were a host of TV programs she invested in when no one else saw the merit and saw the value. One of those programs that all of us, regardless of age, can associate with is Star Trek. Along with her ex-husband, Desi Arnaz, they formed Desilu Studios, and today are responsible for a host of TV shows you and I recognize at the drop of a hat. Out of adversity, out of obstacles, this person, just like you and I, created success for herself in the life that she led. Now, the second person I want to talk to you about may not be as recognizable to some of you, but his name is Fred Rogers. And he hosted a program called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Fred Rogers started his career as an ordained Presbyterian minister. And when he'd get done with Sunday services, after he talked to the kids in Sunday school and whatnot, he would always scratch his head for lack of positive children's programming. So Fred Rogers went out and started Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And if you've ever sat down and watched the program, you're going to find that it solely takes the worth and value of each of us and presents it in a way that there's not anything we can't do. I'll share a personal story with you, having been responsible and privileged enough to raise 6 kids with my wife, Joan. There were some days when you wanted to tear what little hair you had left out. I'd come home from work and one of the kids was sick, or the furnace might not be working, or I just had a bad day at work. You've been there, done that. I'd sit down on the floor with a couple of the kids and I'd listen to Fred Rogers. And you know, after a while, everything was okay. And that's because the sick kids or the busted furnace or the unexpected bill or the boss who had as bad a day as I did, it wasn't any different. It was my outlook on those obstacles. Lucille Ball, Fred Rogers, and you probably know many, many others, had a very strong belief in themselves. There were obstacles in their life that they overcame, and they were able to do the things they wanted to do. So what about you? What about me? When I sit down to work with somebody in a coaching relationship, they ask me what they're going to get out of this when all is said and done. And I tell them that I'm going to introduce them to the most fantastic, intelligent, amazing, motivated coach they're ever going to meet in their lives. And they look at me like, okay, where are they? And I tell them they need to find a room in their house that has a big mirror. And they need to go look in that mirror. Because you and I are the greatest motivators and the greatest inspirers we have. Just ask Lucy and just ask Fred Rogers. So I'm John Jerkowitz, and I hope you have a great, motivated week. I hope all goes well for you, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great day.